Hello and welcome to the show. Great to have your company on this week's edition of Media Week. Coming up for you, a relieved 60 Minutes crew finally released from jail in Lebanon with 9 to launch a full review into the debacle. Plus, Jonesy and Amanda move up the ranks in the latest radio ratings, while 2GB holds its lead in Sydney. The radio analyst Craig Bruce joining us with all those details. As always, the show would be nothing without our co-host, James Manning, editor and publisher of Media Week. Warm welcome into the show.
Hello, Carson.
Great to have you with us once again. Let's talk ratings and some intriguing advances in methodology and technology that are now behind some latest offerings from Nielsen, IAB, Australia, working together as one. Out for the industry now, some new measuring data collection processes. Digital Ratings Monthly is the umbrella term we're giving it. The digital measurement system effectively giving the market a first-hand insight into Australia's total digital audience, unduplicated, right across PC, smartphone and tablet for both web browsers as well as apps. Nielsen's head of media, Monique Perry, returning to Media Week to talk about just what this new software means for the industry. Welcome back. Let's just sort of understand, Monique. People would say, we've been in the business of measuring this, you have, since time immemorial.
Sure.
What has changed? What does this development specifically speak to in terms of the fast-moving nature of even these things?
Yes. So I think the biggest change is that Nielsen has invested in being able to actually measure smartphone and tablet devices. And so now we've actually fused that in with our desktop panels and layered in all of our census volumetric measures to be able to give this first true view of total digital device measurement. And I think the biggest thing that's changed is the fact that we're now adding in these mobile applications that people are engaging with so heavily.
So there was a bit of a hole in the data previously then, really, when we had those internet audiences, which were already really big, but we didn't know exactly how many of the mobile, is that right?
Yeah,
and
so
that's filled in that gap?
I think, yes, so the gap is now being filled, understanding the audiences to mobile applications, and I think having a direct measure of these smartphone and tablet devices means we can really see the engagement. And, you know, smartphones are now the most engaged digital device. So we're spending 28 hours per month on this device, and that's more than desktop and it's more than tablet.
What are you noticing specifically as well about the profile of who or who isn't now being scooped up by all of this? Because presumably you've got to persuade people the merits of them being part of the data set. What typically do you come up against when you're seeking people to agree on that?
Oh, so you're talking about the actual panellists?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so look, this is I guess a groundbreaking area for us. We're leading the world here in Australia in terms of mobile measurement. So we are fast having to develop and redevelop our skills in terms of recruiting people to the panel and keeping them on the panel. And I think we've done a very good job in collaboration with the IAB on measuring that and being able to report those audiences to the market. And I guess what it means at a total level is we're now reporting, 19.5 million Australians accessing the internet every month. So that's...
To even qualify, do you have to have a minimum commitment towards any particular part of the, the available content that's out there? Do you have to be considered at least a minimal user of, say, shows across free-to-air, for instance?
No. So the digital panel is... it has to be representative of the Australian digital universe. So we're looking for a panel that is representative of all Australians across desktop, smartphone and tablet. So this is just a digital measurement panel that we're talking about at the moment. Certainly total audience across all devices is the future of measurement, both here and globally.
But Monique, who cares? I mean, why do we need to know all this? What are the practical
It's a great
uses?
question. Look, the digital ratings currency is about providing an independent independent trading currency for the buyers and sellers of media. So that's the advertising agencies and the advertisers who need to know where to reach their consumers and on what device and at what time, and the sellers, which is, you know, the publishers who are monetising their inventory. So again, it's a trading currency.
But they call digital the most accountable medium, so the publishers can tell exactly how many people are online anyway. What does this offer that they couldn't offer before? Sure.
So Digital Ratings Monthly, I guess, is about having the total view of the audience, including mobile. And I think the next step, which is step 3 in the IAB rollout, and digital content ratings, that's going to bring us into a daily measurement and metrics that are consistent with other media like TV. And so that gives you the ability...
So you get audience breakdowns, you get the demos, male, female, whereas a publisher, I guess, doesn't know that, do they? They only get the raw data.
They get the raw data, and I think this is about understanding the audiences, so bringing it back to the people involved, and then understanding from an independent point of view how I compare to other players in the market.
What is it also telling you? I know it's early days, but the idea of the use of mobile and maybe a plateauing of that, or still scope to grow still further by how much? I mean, when do you build up that sort of a profile of penetration and maximum?
Yeah, the one thing I would say to you right now is digital is more now about mobile than it is about desktop. Okay, so in terms of audiences engaging on a daily basis, it is predominantly, you know, 75% of our audiences are consuming content via mobile devices. So,
and you talk engagement. How do you define that? Is this simply hovering for 60 seconds minimum or maximum? What gets you into that category of engagement?
Look, and that's a great question. There's still more people engaging on a desktop. There's 18 million versus, you know, 13 million on smartphones. But in terms of time spent, that total minutes, we're seeing, you know, 28 hours per person with a smartphone, and it's less on desktop and less on tablets. So
these mobile numbers just keep growing, don't they, Carson? It's amazing. Are we plateauing, do you think? I mean, people are on them so much, presumably they can't be on them much more. Well,
look, there's 13 million Australians on smartphones, so you know, we've got the opportunity for that to grow to the same number as desktops and laptops, which is 18 million. So no, I think we'll continue to see growth in this space in the same way we're seeing growth in mobile ad spend, which is, you know, growing over 80% at the moment, and shows no sign of slowing.
Brief final thought, taking this technology beyond Australia, eyeing other markets? If so, what's on the horizon?
Look, Australia is one of the most complex and sophisticated markets in the world. We often develop things here and then we export them around the world. So certainly within Nielsen, everyone's looking at Australia, and I think what they're looking forward to is seeing us also transition to that daily metric.
And we're sort of in uncharted territory even now. I know we've got to wrap, but just the idea of an election upon us now, and perhaps skewed, you know, behaviour because of that, maybe an intolerance or a deeper engagement just for a small window of time that could be behind the next few months. You can see that this is sort of...
Yeah, and look, we see fluctuations in the data, whether it be big news stories, whether it be seasonality with, you know, automotive and real estate trends. Yes, there's absolutely fluctuations in the data.
Come back and give us an update in, what, another 3-6 months?
Brilliant. I look forward to it. Thank you for having me.
Monique Perry there, Nielsen Digital Ratings for you. Let's move on and talk reporting inside this market this day. 10 has been out with a vengeance, talking about its results. Back into the black for H1. Profit up thanks to a near 8% gain on the revenue front. Selling its US outdoor ad business, also giving it a boost. Here's what Julia Lee from Bell Direct had to say earlier on the broader media space in the wake of those numbers.
The landscape is changing, and at the end of the day, a lot of it is going to be on programming. So you just have to have a look at the programming to see whether that's going to stimulate ad sales. And 10 notes that television ad market remains short in terms of forward bookings. But you also have to ask, you know, is this going to change anytime soon? I think more and more ad spend is going to the internet instead of through the traditional areas of television.
The stock drifts lower on this result. James Manning, editor and publisher of Mediaweek, your views now in terms of just the relatively wild ride it's been on.
10.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the whole sector's really punished badly, hasn't it, by investors, the media sector. You'd be a brave person to putting your superannuation into the media sector these days. The 10 figures on the face of it look pretty good, though, don't they? I mean, you know, they swapped out Hamish McLennan's gone. They've got a finance guy in there. See what a difference a finance guy makes to the bottom line.
We'll get onto that later with 9, but still, come on.
Well, yeah.
Yes.
But turned the loss around into a profit, and they've got through probably their toughest part of the year in terms of ratings-wise. So they're going to have a good story to tell the market, at least for a little while. MasterChef starting Sunday week. That's their big-ticket program for the year, you know. So
strategically, do you think they're wise to have held back as long as they have on that? Because in the meantime, of course, My Kitchen Rules has been stretched and stretched and stretched, so like a rubber band about to snap.
Yeah, look, the TV ratings analyst in me says no. I'd love to see those two shows head-to-head to see what would happen. But in reality, you'd either have to start it at the beginning, or you can't come in during it, I think. You've got to wait till it's gone. If you're not taking it on day one,
don't bother.
Wait till it's over. Okay. Yeah, absolutely.
Speaking of the ratings, let's have a look-see. Week 16, free to air now. You know, speaking of My Kitchen Rules, there we have it up in lights, number 1.
Sure.
Animating through.
Yeah, this is it'll be on our chart next week, and then it'll finish. So yeah, that's new territory for 7 too, because they've really dominated. And will they be able to keep this momentum? Possibly not.
Okay, let's turn the page and go through.
Should be all 9 and 7 news bulletins pretty much. The My Kitchen Rules is the one standout in those free-to-air shows that can mix it with the size of the news audience.
Is that pretty sticky, that tally? Just, I mean, 9 ahead of 7 there. Realistically, is that where it's likely to run? Or
no, those Sunday news bulletins, they swap around. Yeah, 7 does all right when they have a great big AFL game, but leading into their news, so they're both their biggest bulletins during the week are usually those Sunday bulletins.
Subscription, James, now, week 16 and sport.
Again, a mix of NRL and AFL. Fox Sports having a really good year so far. They've got every NRL game live now, so the audiences seem to have responded to that. Some of that 9 audience has made the transition across to Fox Sports.
Non-sport?
Yep, Gogglebox, they're doing great business. Again, interesting model. It's screened on Foxtel plus 10, so it seems to be working for them both getting pretty good figures for it there.
Do we know, here's a sort of question without notice, Selling Houses Australia, what is the lead time on filming that and it hitting the airwaves?
It's a little while. It could be,
6 months?
Yeah, it could be 12 months from one of the first episodes until and it could be shorter than 6 months. I think the season finale is 2 one-hour specials this year, so really interesting show, and it still does fantastically well. It's probably been on air for a decade now, I think. Just great business.
Yeah, of course. And then there's Grand Designs and everything else, but that seemingly Selling Houses is claiming top billing.
Yeah. But all those real estate shows, when you get it right, yes, do very well.
Let's go from certainly from TV into radio now. The latest ratings after your break. Plus 9 is launching a comprehensive review following that 60 Minutes incident. We're going to tell you just what CEO Hugh Marks has been telling staff after this. Stick around.
Knowledge applied is power. Incredible things are created with the right knowledge. Knowledge also breeds foresight, giving strength to manage risk and make better decisions. When you choose to trade Forex with Go Markets, you'll gain access to our foresight and expert market analysis. Analysis that could help you identify potential financial risks and wait for the right opportunities. Go Markets, your first choice for Forex.
Why would humans leave Earth for Mars forever?
I'm allergic to the planet.
Nasonex Allergy targets 4 allergic responses. It gives more effective hay fever relief than antihistamine tablets. Enjoy Earth.
NAB Home Loans. Whenever you make the leap, we'll help you land.
My perfect guy would make me laugh, live in the moment, but look to the future.
Elite Singles, for single professionals serious about finding love.
He doesn't have to be perfect. Just perfect for me.
Go to elitesingles.com.au.
Enjoy the best of both worlds with a Citi flexible personal loan that's fixed for 4 years with a low intro rate of just 9.99% per annum. It's also flexible with no early exit fees, no annual or monthly fees, just a low one-off establishment fee, and you also get access to ongoing credit without having to reapply. So visit citibank.com.au/loans or call 1300 787 139 today.
You need a website. Why not do it yourself? With Wix, you can create your own professional website. Choose from hundreds of templates. Drag and drop to create your site exactly the way you want. Change your text. Choose one of our backgrounds or upload your own. Add popular web apps and services like Google Maps, contact forms, and so much more. Just like that, you've got your own stunning website that is fully optimized for every device. Create your stunning website today. It's easy and free.
When it comes to a credit card that rewards, I want amazing.
What you ordered with your reward points.
Outstanding.
Apply for the Citi Rewards Platinum Card and get 60,000 bonus Citi Reward points when you spend $2,000 in the first 90 days.
My favourite, power tools.
Plus, pay no interest for 18 months on balances you transfer. Choose the card that brings your rewards to life. Apply now for a Citi Platinum Card. Call 13 28 58 or go to citibank.com.au/TV.
Email a photo of your car or home insurance policy to sendandswitch@qbe.com.au with your phone number, and we'll call you back with our best deal. Email sendandswitch@qbe.com.au today.
Nice to have you back with us. The latest radio ratings released. Here to take you through the details at lightning quick speed, our co-host James Manning, editor and publisher of Mediaweek, and as well joining us now exclusively, radio analyst Craig Bruce. Gentlemen, without any further ado, let's start off with Sydney.
Craig, great to have you back on the show. Yeah, no longer with Southern Cross Austereo.
Yeah, radio analyst, that's a career low, James, but I'll take that.
The only way is up.
Let's start off in Sydney with new frankness from Craig today, without the network ties.
Sure.
Look, traditional owners of the space here, 2GB, probably no FM station's ever going to get those sort of figures, are they? If anybody could do it, it'd be Kiss FM.
Yeah,
and I guess 3 points behind, it's only 1.5 move each way, you know, and they're knocking on the door.
They came back a bit from Survey 1, but really a market dominated by the ARN stations, Kiss and WS in great shape. And you know, both of those breakfast shows, Amanda and Jonesy, and obviously Kyle and Jack, have been dominant for a number of years. Heritage shows, brilliant broadcasters. So they've well and truly got this market sewn up. Smooth came off a little, and so did Nova in this book. They would be a little disappointed with those results, I would have thought.
Yeah.
Smooth will bounce back, but certainly...
Top five's an arbitrary thing, but, you know, buyers go to their agencies and say, look, in the station, say, look, we're going to buy the top 2 or 3 in this demo.
Sure.
And if you're not on that list, you miss out.
Yeah.
However close you might be.
Absolutely, and it's certainly a market dominated by ARN.
Okay, let's have a look at Melbourne. Again, 3AW, a Macquarie Media station down there, long-time owner of that top spot. The FM changes a fair bit in Melbourne, doesn't it? Who's number 1 FM? Great performance from Gold, really. If you're harsh, you could say batting above their average, you know.
Well, when you consider they've got a new breakfast show, or a changed breakfast show with Joe Stanley going in at the start of the year. Joe is very good, but there's possibly upside there with that new show. I mean, it's an incredibly competitive market. You've got 3 or 4 terrific new shows on FM. Nova have a great new breakfast show. The new Kiss breakfast show is excellent as well, and I think Fox has improved again. Eddie and the Hot Breakfast holding up from an FM perspective in breakfast, but it's an incredibly tight market, one of the best markets.
And a lot of veteran
radio
broadcasters who deserve big audiences, but there could be some bruised egos at the end of the year because they're not all going to win, are they?
Yeah, exactly, yeah. It's going to be a tight battle for sure.
Okay. Moving along to Brisbane. Again, you look, ARN really owns that market with 97.3. I think it won every survey last year. First survey was down a little bit this year, but still well in control, and they've had a blinder this time.
Yeah, they have, and they're a very strong brand, as the Nova brand is in Brisbane, but Hit 105 is improving, and I think it's got the momentum in the market. They're certainly winning under 40s at the moment, and Osher Gunsberg coming into that breakfast show, I think, has made a real improvement to the show, and I think there's still upside there for Hit 105. I think the market will tighten over the next 12 months.
Yeah, you mentioned the Hit Network. I think the Hit Network pioneered the Adelaide market, didn't they? They sort of dropped the SAFM.
First cab off the rank.
Yeah, and they really paid for it in the early days. They sort of did some hard yards, didn't they?
Yeah, well and truly.
Found their feet there. They seem to have found it. They're really on the up there, and it's working for the duopoly there with Triple M.
Well, it's another market that's super tight. I mean, if you look at the top 4 FMs, you know, there's about half a point separating Mix, Triple M, Nova and Hit 107, so it's a really tight market. I think Mix's new normal is in that 11.5 to 12 share number. You know, they've dominated over the last 10 years with 15s and 16s, but they've come back to the pack. But yeah, no, it's going to be an interesting year for Adelaide, that's for sure.
Yeah. Perth, another interesting one. Mix, under a bit of pressure there at the moment. Look, it's owned that market for over a decade now. It's hardly, I think it's lost maybe one survey in 11 years.
Yeah, like super strong brand. They changed the breakfast show. Unfortunately, a tragic death last year of one of their co-hosts, and they'll rebuild quickly, but they'll have a couple of little bumps along the way. The Nova breakfast show in Perth is incredibly strong. Yeah, it has been for a long period of time. So those two.
Nate and Sean got the #1 brekkie.
Yeah.
What's more important, #1 breakfast or #1 overall?
That's a good question. You'd take either. You'd take either. Normally one precedes the other. I mean, if you're doing well in brekkie, you normally win the ranking.
Right.
It doesn't always happen. I think Eddie might be winning in Melbourne and Triple M back a little in terms of numbers. But yeah, #1.
Prefer that, though, wouldn't they, than swapping?
Well,
Eddie worth more at #1 breakfast than the station?
Sure. Yeah, I think that the Eddie, Mick and Luke show is one of those great breakfast shows that you know, obviously you can build a long-term plan around.
Yeah.
What kind of qualifies for greatness? I mean, I was reading some material you wrote recently about, you know, you coach somebody to a certain point, they get into that role, it's the dream job, and then it's as if they lose their mojo when they've finally arrived. It's like all that effort, all that head of steam. I mean, that's really just the start, isn't it?
It is.
It's far from the end point.
Yeah.
You've got a whole lot more to prove.
I think curation's at the heart of good content. And when I say curation, I think the really good content performers are the ones that say no to content. They make a really clear distinction around what they will talk about and what they won't talk about. And if you look at all of the great shows, Kyle and Jack's a great example. You know, when they started in Sydney 10, 12 years ago, they were a pop culture, entertainment-based show, really specific around that content and built from there. And so, you know, I've seen that over the years. I think that the really good performers are really sure about what they will and won't talk about and how they'll present that to the market. It's really easy to become, you know, radio is one of those classic convergence industries where everyone ends up sounding the same, and the ones that can break away from the pack are the ones that tend to have the success over time. Easier said than done, and it takes some courage to zig when others zag.
Yeah.
What would you say as well keeps people loyal in a marketplace that now with digital, you can pretty much dial up any frequency worldwide and have in real time, even if it's a business show, heaven forbid, vying for attention with their daily staple offerings in the mornings. Is all news local?
I look at local content in breakfast is absolutely critical. I mean, honest, real, authentic storytelling is still at the heart of strong breakfast shows.
You can't really overrate local, though, can you? I mean, that's
certainly not in breakfast.
Wire really hangs his hat on local, and I think that's why he's where he is in Melbourne.
Absolutely, and I mean, if you think about your morning ritual, you tend to do the same thing at the same time across the course of most mornings, and the breakfast show is a part of that ritual. And once you've bought in on a show and it becomes a part of your morning habit, it's a very hard habit to break. And you know, that's why heritage shows like Amanda and Jonesy here in Sydney and Kyle and Jack have had such success over such a long period of time.
Eddie Maguire will get on. He'll be doing a show from New York, and you'll get on, but they'll talk about Melbourne for the 3 hours. They'll hardly mention that they're in New York because I guess they're worried about someone else, you know, cutting their grass while they're away from Melbourne.
Yeah, well and truly.
Craig, thank you for those insights.
No worries at all. Good to see you.
Likewise.
Thanks,
all
Jay.
the very best for the next chapter. Craig Bruce joining us there. Well, of course, another big item on the agenda that's seemingly now been resolved. Channel 9 crew, including the 60 Minutes reporter Tara Brown, back to Sydney, released from a Beirut jail, where they, of course, were being held following a bungled attempt to grab children of Brisbane woman Sally Faulkner back from their father in a custody dispute. Channel 9 negotiating a deal that saw the children's father drop kidnapping allegations against the Australians. Here's 60 Minutes reporter Tara Brown, clearly relieved in the wake of that release.
I was ordered to call home straight away, but not the kids yet, and I can't wait to speak to them, obviously, though they have no idea about any of this. So yeah, and you know, it's great to talk to home, and it's great to be going home.
The lesson from it is we have to abide by the laws of other countries, whether they are in accordance or aligned with Australian law or not. They are the laws of another country, and this is a message that the Australian government seeks to give people travelling overseas, whether as tourists, for business, for whatever purpose. You have to abide by the laws of the other country in which you're a visitor.
Nine Chief Executive Hugh Marks out today saying the network's launching a review into the botched operation. A statement's been sent to staff. Mr Marks saying the review will be headed by Gerald Stone with David Hurley and General Counsel Rachel Launders to ascertain just what went wrong and, quote, why our systems designed to protect staff failed to do so in this case, quote unquote. Well, between a rock and a hard place, James Manning, if you're a shareholder, I suppose questions asked over even what sums of money have been exchanged, whether that was an appropriate use of shareholder funds.
Yeah, but look, I think there would have been bigger questions asked though if there wasn't a good outcome. And I think this is a very good outcome for Nine, you know. The thoughts of them doing, you know, there were talks about anything from 3 to 20 years behind bars. That wouldn't have been a good outcome. What would it have done to the Nine News brand? Would there have been ongoing, you know, this... I think this sort of... This will still be an important story in, you know, 6 months, but it's just going to fade off the front page. Okay. I think it's been front page of the Daily Telegraph every day for a week, you know. That's not going to happen next week. People will move on to other things.
Do you expect that review is going to, though, do any finger pointing, or what are you hearing from the inside as far as a likely...
I get the sense from Hugh Marks' statement today that there's... I wouldn't be surprised if no one gets dismissed.
If no one does?
No. Okay. Because I think they'll certainly change their systems. People might be, you know, have to take responsibility for certain things, but I wouldn't be surprised if there's no sackable offence in there. I think Gerald Stone, David Hurley, great choice. Both really tough guys, tough operators, both critical when they need to be. So they want to make sure that this won't happen again to anybody else there. So the staff's going to take it really seriously, and so will the network.
Did it need to be arm's length? Even at this stage, does it need to be an arm's length inquiry? In other words, people with no skin in the game attached to it, a bit like the ABC inquiry.
I don't think so. I think this is fine. These guys aren't. These guys are going to want to. I mean, these guys both have great reputations. They're going to want to protect that by doing the right thing.
Okay. We'll follow that one with great interest. Thank you, James.
Well, thanks.
And we'll look forward to your company in another 7 days to join us for another edition of Media Week then.